And I'm all by myself in the studio. That means there's no adult supervision, and that gives me lots of latitude to do different things. So I want to start off with the headlines that are going to be coming up in the short future. Taiwan's elections. We're going to have the Iowa caucus, then the New Hampshire caucus, and we're going to be Nikki Haley. Going to have the under an information blitz, folks. That doesn't even include what artificial intelligence can do. By the way, for those of you that are hearing the podcast, you will not notice. What people will notice immediately if they see the video, I have facial hair. I'm growing my hair. Please let me know your comments. Mostly the women will comment, I realize that, but men do have a certain degree of taste in fashion. So tell me, should I keep the beard, get rid of the beard? I think the fact that the hair is white on the side actually goes well with the beard because, the old men have, my hair is white with the snow of many winters, as the writers would say. There's wisdom that comes with those gray hairs. I'm going to give you some wisdom right now. I can look at the headlines of what's in the recent news cycle and extrapolate from them a prophetic perspective on what's coming to America. And this, I want you to catch this. This is very important you get this. Because what's coming to America is going to be a huge shakeup. Putin attacks Javier Milei, the new president of Argentina, the Trump of the Argentinian world. He says he's jeopardizing their sovereignty. And why is he saying that? A significant loss of your freedom. Because he's leading the BRICS nations. There's some 40 nations ready to decouple from the American dollar at a time when the lunatics in Washington are $2 trillion in debt, wanting to shut down the interest rate in order to create an artificial, feeling the economy's under control, which is going to mean all hell will break loose because they're artificially suppressing interest rates, flooding the zone with cash, and the world is decoupling from the dollar. There's even rumors in Washington that the lunatic psychopaths that are in charge of our Washington decision-making are thinking of trying to freeze funds that Putin has that we can have access to, which would mean America would so violate its role in the globe as a reserve currency that we would arbitrarily reach out and try to seize assets because we have the ability to, which would hurt Russia. But if we were to do that without getting involved with what that mechanism is and how Biden is tempted to do it, Lindsey Graham's in his ear whispering, do it, do it, do it. If we do that, we will most certainly give reason for every nation in the world to get rid of the United States, because any ideological tripwire that we don't like will cut off your funds like some stinking social media channel would deplatform you if we don't like what you said about the election. Putin is attacking the Argentine president because you're in danger of losing your own sovereignty by staying stuck to the dollar. But he's not really. This guy Javier is actually a good guy. And he's saying, I'm betting on the United States. I'm betting on Trump. I'm betting on Trump coming back. And I want to do deals with Trump. That's what he's saying. But right now, you need to be going to lancewallnau.com/Birch, because the BRICS attack is serious. And America is under a form of judgment right now, which is most unique. It's the judgment of God not interfering with the consequences of our own stupid decision-making. Your own backsliding will reprove you, the prophet said in King James language, meaning your own stupid decisions will become the punishment I inflict on you. The consequence of fooling around could be an unwanted pregnancy. The consequence of playing with matches could be you burn the house down. The consequence of gambling and alcohol could mean you go in debt and lose your house. You can pick up the end of any stick, my friend, but you cannot pick up the other end. Whatever side you pick up has a consequence. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and see how to protect yourself from the decoupled dollar. When the dollar begins to burn up, your wealth will stay stable because the silver is mine and the gold is mine. God, wink, wink, gives us a hint from the year 520 BC and prophesies to us today. It's those assets you put your wealth in that'll preserve your wealth. Can't say it any more firmly. Get the article and read it. Just read what I wrote. Read what I got written for you. LanceWallnau.com/Birch. I want to talk to you about the headlines. This also tells me Putin's in the headlines here. Let's look at Pope Francis. He officially approves priests blessing same-sex couples. I'm talking about spiritual alignments going on. What you got here is the West, the depravity of the West, sinking down the toilet because our Marxist Pope here is trying to seek a way to be more inclusive in kind of creating a graduated adjustment towards the recognition of same-sex marriage, which is men and women and women, which is clearly not a biblical pattern at all, but it shows you how the Vatican is on its way to fulfilling what end-time prophecy aficionados like Hal Lindsey and various others have been saying for 40 years, that the Vatican eventually serves as a catalytic platform for what the Bible calls the false prophet in the New Testament. So a certain charismatic political leader of religion who is a dragon but speaks like a lamb. He's under the influence of the powers of darkness and actually will endorse the pretensions of the charismatic and at first popular political figure who will end up being the Antichrist. Oh, you say, you guys crack me up. Yeah, well, isn't it interesting? 2,000 years ago, we talk about sovereign nations collapsing under the heel of a global system with a digital currency that is going to be reframed and activated based upon a digital laser-like nanotechnology tattooed into your right hand or perhaps on your forehead for ease of scanning purposes. How about that 2,000 years ago being predicted? Freak you out if you understood the book of Revelation. So the Pope is being revealed. I knew he was bad news. You know when I knew he was bad news? When he came to the United States and everybody, including Biden and Obama, they were all like, oh my gosh, they were virtually almost like wetting themselves with exuberance over the opportunity to meet the Pope. And this man had parades of people listening and loving and adoring him. And I said, what will he use his platform for? Will he use it like a Billy Graham to say, I'm so honored that you receive me? But Jesus said, if you receive me, you receive him who sent me. And I'm here as an ambassador with a message. God says that America is very special to his end-time purposes, but America must repent, and it must return to its former values where God was honored, where family was honored, where a fear of God would be upon you before you would steal or rob from one another. The thought that there was an ultimate reckoning is real, and that has been lost in American culture. I'm here as an ambassador to spend the wealth of your kindness and receiving me and put it all on the table and say, if you were to truly please God, you must turn again to God, America. Boy, I would have applauded him. But what does he give you? Climate change, economic injustice, inequity, global order, put away the wars. Just the kind of stuff the Antichrist gobbledygook would say. No one called to repentance. He left as popular as when he came. And not one American benefited from the platform of favor that was given to him. I haven't talked about him since then. But you know where I stand. Now, utilizing my other camera here in the studio, Russia, China, the Vatican, North Korea, and Iran. What do they all have in common? Well, these are all power structures that are aligning in a certain way that is creating a ramp, if you will, into a new period. If America doesn't make its governmental adjustments in 2024, than Russia and China and Iran. The Middle East, and you're seeing the conflicts already. You're seeing it in the Middle East with Iran. You're seeing it with Russia and Ukraine. America backed the wrong subject. We created a proxy war we never should have been involved with. Sunk money we don't have and a cause we're going to lose. Putin's stature goes up. He's decoupled from the dollar. He's put his money into gold. And here's something he did what America ought to do. He refused to let his millionaires and billionaires put their wealth in other countries to minimize or marginalize their risk. He made it all come back to the Russian economy, put it to work, stabilize the banks, and increase the cash flow for job creation. Actually did it really well. America's the one that's coming out a loser in this. Russia and China should never be linking arms. Kissinger knew that. Nixon knew that. Trump knew that. Reagan knew that. Obama? Biden? I guess they were sleeping during that class. Elon Musk says DEI must die and criticizes diversity schemes as discrimination. Well, they are, because they're discriminating against anyone who is white and qualified for a job if they're not intersectionally willing to identify themselves as, gay or trans or a minority. Then they've lost in the oppression Olympics. Understand how this DEI thing works. It's based on oppressor and oppressed. And competency is not an issue. It's whether or not you can identify with a group that is perceived to be oppressed. That's your promotion capacity. Now, what happens when you have aviation run by people that have no competence, but they won the oppression Olympics with a Marxist pyramid? Planes crash. Automobile parts aren't working. Engines aren't being serviced properly. Surgery is going to start to fail. Power grids are going to go out. Take a look at South Africa. They practiced this, and the infrastructure of the country started to deteriorate and collapse because you need hard science, competent people to do stuff. Anyway, the reason why I'm excited about Elon Musk is because Elon Musk gives me hope that God himself is intervening in the cause of the West. Because Twitter took away the CIA and the FBI's ability to manipulate narratives, push stories, fake information. This took from the intelligence community something they want. Therefore, watch for Elon Musk to be brought into, they're probably going to try to find some licensing issue with him now with Starlink or with his plants. The government now in power is going to start to figure out a way to go after Musk the same way they figured out a way to conjure up problems with Trump. They're going to play the game of using the Justice Department apparatus in order to punish their ideological opponents. I think a backlash is going to come. Elon and X, his new platform, he simply refuses to play the politically correct game. Like Vivek. I watched him the other day. Do you renounce, white extremist racism or white extremism? And he just called out that NBC or ABC journalist. He said, what kind of idiotic game are you playing? Dividing America to the point of destruction with stupid questions like that? Setting it up so that I ever have to genuflect into your religious worldview and acknowledge that there's this terrible white racism going on and I'm not part of it? Or I don't support you, and the headline tomorrow is he refuses to disavow it. He said, I know what you're going to do tomorrow. He refused to disassociate. I'm against every form of persecution and violence to anyone because of the difference in their religion or the color of their skin or their gender. But I'm not going to bow the knee to your manipulated narrative, your Marxist game, you journalist play. You're bringing America to the breaking point. You deserve to be dealt with and ashamed for what you're doing to America. Well, it may seem like I'm a little upset, but Vivek did a great job. I'm going to play that clip for you. I just didn't tell my team here in the studio I was going to do it. Maybe we'll stick it in here for you.
You didn't say that you condemn white supremacy, though. I'm not going to recite some catechism for you. I'm against vicious racial discrimination in this country. So I'm not pledging allegiance to your new religion of modern wokeism, which absolutely fits the test. I'm not going to bend the knee to your religion. I'm sorry. I'm not asking you to bend the knee to mine, and I'm not going to bend the knee to yours. But do I condemn vicious racial discrimination? Yes, I do. Am I going to play your silly game of gotcha? No, I'm not. And frankly, this is why people have lost trust. And I know you're going to go print the headline tomorrow. I already know this. We already know how your game works. Vivek Ramaswamy refuses to condemn white supremacy because you asked a stupid question. The reality is, I condemn vicious racial discrimination in this country, but the kind of vicious and systematic racial discrimination we see today is discrimination on the basis of race in a very different direction. You want to know what the best way is to end discrimination on the basis of race? Stop discriminating on the basis of race. Do that, and we're going to move this country forward. And I don't care whether you're black or white or brown or anything in between. That's how we're going to unite this country. You people have been responsible for dividing this country to a breaking point, creating a projection of national division. I meet people from the south side of Chicago to meetings like this one of every shade of melanin, multiple, from man to woman, doesn't make a difference, who are hungry for reviving unity in this country. And you, with your catechism that you try to get to politicians to whatever fake headline you're going to print on the basis of this conversation tomorrow, that's what's dividing this country to a breaking point. Shame on you. Look people in the eye and tell them what you've actually failed to tell them for the last 5 years. Own the accountability for your own failures as the media. That's how we rebuild trust in this country. And until then, I don't have a lot of patience to play the games.
What do you expect from
But Elon Musk, I'm telling you, he's saying here that Musk, a white man born in South Africa, has increasingly aligned himself with far-right figures as an advocate of free speech and opponent of wokeness and political correctness. He said he recently purchased Twitter in 2022 to stop the woke mind virus, referring to what he said as a liberal ideology that pervades media and entertainment and corporate America and the Democratic Party, and is now in the Department of Defense and the FBI and the CIA and the DOJ. Advertisers have fled the platform. Why? Because he rolled back safeguard against hateful speech. What kind of hateful speech? Wonder about that COVID vaccine. Do you think the election was stolen in 2020? How many Fed agents do you think were involved in January 6th? Hate, hate, hate. That's what they call hate speech. By the way, based upon that, I guess I'm a hate speech person. Because, well, I hate to have my speech controlled by Marxists. Anyway, I'm giving you that headline of Elon because Elon is coming out against the DEI, and thank God, God is raising up what we call vessels of common grace. He is not an evangelical. Thank God he isn't. Because if he was, Christian extremist Elon Musk denounces rights of minorities to ascend the pay ladder in corporations. That'd be what they say. You guys with me right now? Hey, remember this story? Senate staffer loses job after having sex in a hearing. I love the word allegedly. Yeah, just because we have a video of him naked and romping around the Senate chambers with his boyfriend, filming no less, and publishing his gay sex encounter. The explicit footage published on the Daily Caller on Friday 2 weeks ago shows two men having sex in the Hart 216 room of the Judiciary Room. This is where James Comey, the former FBI director, gave his testimony regarding Donald Trump. James Comey. It's appropriate that he was in that room since Comey suffers from rump derangement syndrome. Anyway, those of you that don't know what happened in that room, just as well you don't. Don't want to offend your Christian sensibilities, but you ought to know these people are defiling your public sacred institutions. It's like putting a Satan idol in the middle of, the Illinois Capitol. I mean, Antifa's pulling down every Christian symbol in the United States. 900 of them. Statues taken down. Satan gets to go up. No one can take that one down. Except for one guy, a zealot, I think he whacked off its head. It's a Christian. Sound mind, too. He just said, I was bringing my daughter to go see the Capitol. I saw that, and I said, what the heck is this? Whack. I kind of understand that. So Ben Shapiro predicts the leftist governments in Latin America will crash into the rocks of reality. Yeah, the pink wave isn't an iron wall as it was with Soviet-occupied Eastern Europe. It's popularly elected leftist governments in South and Latin America that have increasingly pursued not only economic redistributionism and nationalism of industry, but outright tyranny and anti-Americanism. Shapiro pointed out, that dog won't hunt. It's not going to produce jobs. It's not going to produce benefits. And after 2018, leftist parties again began to take back power in Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, Honduras, and Chile. And the consequences of that haven't always worked out the way they thought. Peru, for instance, kicked George Soros out. Peru kicked Soros out. You know why? There was a movement led by the mama bears. They were tired of the transgender ideology of the United States wacko intellectual academics and perverts going into Latin America, telling the little boys and girls they were trapped in the wrong bodies and needed to mutilate their genitals and go in debt to the pharmaceutical companies and doctors for the rest of their life, even coming under a suicidal depression if necessary to get in the right body because they were born in the wrong body. Well, the mothers rose up and they had this campaign. I think it was something like, don't mess with our kids. And they went after the government officials, they went after the NGOs, and they politically did a root canal on every one of those officials producing Soros's well-funded NGO agenda. Soros got so mad, Open Society wrote a letter saying, I'm pulling my money out. The right-wing extremists have destroyed your nation and made it virtually impossible for the devil and me to do any business. Well, he didn't say the devil, but you get my point. Anyway, Ben is right. The leftist governments in Latin America have a problem. They want to go with, they're not really, they're not socially, morally corrupt like we are in the United States on our leftist communist side, but they're actually more Catholic. So they are an interesting dichotomy of wanting the very best of economic redistribution with, with El Capitan. At the same time, they don't want you messing with their the order of the house and their religious values. So it's kind of a curious chemistry you got to work with there. All right, I only got 3 minutes left, but I want to talk to you about politics, debt, and war in the year 2024. The manipulation of information about current events is crossing a whole new horizon this year. And with the advent of artificial intelligence, you're going to have so much misinformation. It's going to actually be faces talking that are lying images of like Trump saying stuff he never said, because you can now manipulate voices and faces to say what you want. And this stuff being bot targeted into incendiary pockets in America is going to be something else. Where do you think those 3 to 6 million, 8 million actually, uninvited people that are living in the United States, who do you think brought them in? NGOs, even some Marxist Catholic organizations, all funding and controlling their flow in the United States. A lot of them are going to be activated units, like Marxist, Maoist units for destruction and rioting in 2024. The good news is we see it. They brought them in. Where are they? They're being taken care of by somebody. They've been brought in for a reason. They're going to be the shock troops. They're going to be raised. You're going to find out more criminal activity is going to be organized by the left in the form of riots and street theater protests on the fictitious basis of they're going to search for some George Floyd they can find, some false flag incident they can create. They're going to be looking for anything to feed an anti-Christian nationalist, and they're going to try to come after Christians because the devil knows that religion is the thing he's trying to take out now. He's already got the business mountain, the government mountain, the arts mountain, the media mountain. He's got the education mountain. The only thing left is family and religion. So the family's under the transgender assault, same-sex marriage assault, attack on marriage assault, manhood, and boom, they're going after the ministry. And a lot of weak ministers are going to be joining that. Rob Reiner has a movie out, which is targeting Christians, and it's going to have, I don't know who's going to be speaking there, but whoever's speaking on behalf of exposing the dangers of Christian nationalism, mark it well. There's your Judases selling out the church. They're the ones in Rome that would go to Nero to tell him the fanatics need to be sent to the lions. Those guys are dangerous. And we'll call them out as soon as we find out who they are. I got a feeling I know who's going to show up because they're the same goofballs that are always courted by the Atlantic and the New York Times as though they speak on behalf of the church. They don't. They speak on behalf of their donors who are leftists that support Democrats. Anyway, I'm on a rare roll today. I got 38 seconds. But the information warfare is going to be intense. That's why you want to watch shows like this, because we're going to pierce the fog of war to give you exactly what's going to be happening. And I'm not in a negative mood. I'm so sensitive to the shifts of narrative that I believe it's because God is going to cause us to be able to fight effectively. I do believe prayer. You may not believe this, but I believe that prayer and fasting really do have power. I think the power of agreement in prayer is a very powerful thing. I think the gloves are going to come off in the spirit realm this year. And the final rounds of America is going to resemble the slugfest at the end of Rocky II, where Rocky and Apollo Creed literally knock each other out to the mat, and the first one back to their feet wins. Having done all to stand, we will stand. We'll be on our feet, and we will win. I'm telling you that. However, it's going to be a year of chaos and violence and misinformation and some of the greatest manipulations you've ever seen to pander for votes. But it's all about trying to create an irreconcilable division in America. And if you think the problems are in 2024, let me predict ahead of time. Prophesy for those of you that love to critique prophets. Here's one you can check out. There'll be a situation where no matter who's elected in November, a significant number of states will not accept the outcome. And it's going to be the beginning of the fragmentation of the 50 states. I didn't say it was going to happen. I said it was going to be the beginning of the fragmentation because a significant number of people will not accept it if they feel Biden stole it, or if Newsom stole it, Michelle Obama and Newsom, the magic ticket, stole it, or if Trump stole it. Whoever wins, the division will be like Lincoln going to the White House. Well, what's the good news there, Mr. Preacher Pressbox? Well, the good news there is that it's all working out according to plan. And in the end of the day, I'm telling you, get yourself financially prepared. That's why you go to lancewallnau.com/Birch. Read the 20-page report because my people perish for lack of knowledge. Learn about silver. Silver's going to go up because gold is going to go up. Gold's going to go, guaranteed to go up because the Fed now is making it possible for gold to even be more valuable. And all the other countries that are decoupling from the dollar, they're buying up gold. So that's why I'm saying you want to go there. And I'm going to figure out a way for those of you that don't have enough to be able to get by because I love my audience. And I'm committed to all of you making it and being encouraged in this next year. Because I really do believe that David said something so interesting in Psalm 6, 7, or 8. He said, "My God, you've enlarged me when I was in this distress." David was anointed to be a ruler in Israel. But David's expansion came under pressure. It's when you're lifting those weights and you have that resistance, the muscle builds. Resistance is working for you. And I'm prophesying to all of you, all my friends watching this broadcast, this is the year when doors that were closed before will be open, and there'll be an open door. You're going to have to get in proximity to that door, and God's going to open that door. You know, you go to the grocery store, and boom, they have the electric door. It opens when you get there. The door opens. When you get to the place God wants you in your development, your focus, and I'm even saying, do not become emotionally triggered because that's an evidence that your faith is really not in God. It's in current events. If your faith is in God, you aren't unduly distressed by anything that goes on. In fact, you have an intuition that senses what's going to happen before it happens. And that gives you even greater calm. So I pray for you that going to this new year, you're going to have a greater sense of calm, trusting that your life is being surrendered to do what God wants you to do and that God has factored all the chaos into a blueprint that you're going to be able to navigate into the purpose of God and into the best and the highest that He has for you. It's going to happen that way, and America's going to come out this year. Oh, it's going to come out in the right place in the right way, and America shall be saved. That's the line, by the way, that Rob Reiner put in his movie. I saw the preview. America shall be saved. They quote me like I'm going to force conversions like the Catholics in the Dark Ages. When I say America shall be saved, I picture a drowning man falling into the ice and having a hand reach out and pull him out. God's hand's reaching out. America shall be saved. See you again tomorrow.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.